rock and roll. So if you now understand what a lead is, now it's like, okay, well, how do I get engaged leads? How do I get people to show interest in the stuff I sell? Well, that's what we're gonna cover right now. So there's 9 steps. I told you it's gonna get really tactical. The beginning was just to give you a little bit of whet the appetite, get you excited. The rest of this is gonna be like the shit you do to get people to wanna buy your stuff. All right, so 9 steps. How I figured this out, why lead magnets are important. There's a little spoiler for you. What and who, how to deliver, how to solve it, name it, make it easy, make it good, create the next steps. All right, let's rock and roll. So here's how I figured this out. So I was trying to get leads for a webinar because I was told by a mentor, they were like, hey, you need to make a webinar to get gym owners. I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. And so I spent all this time trying to make this webinar and spent money advertising it after like 8 weeks of trying to make this work. And this other guy in the group started, he helped gym owners do stuff, and he started making money on his webinar. I was like, fuck, he's gonna take all the clients. Like, I'm not gonna have, there's gonna be no business left for me. And so I was actually like really upset about it. And anyways, I kept trying it just wasn't working. So finally I got the ads live. I figured out how to like run an ad nationally and try to target an audience and all this stuff. Figure out a thank you page and a cart and integrate with a payment processor. Like there's all these micro skills. I had no idea how to do this. And so anyways, I run some ads. I spent $500, I think, somewhere in there. And guess what? Didn't make any money. But what I did get is I got a bunch of emails of people who opted in and never actually watched the thing I spent 8 weeks trying to build, right? And so then I was like, well, shit. So I reached out to all those guys and was like, hey, want to hop on a call? And I ended up closing those people. After doing that, I was like, man, I feel like I can make this way easier. And so I was scrolling my newsfeed and I saw a different marketer was like, hey, here's a case study that I did on how I made whatever, $100,000 with a retargeting campaign and how you can use retargeting in your business. I can't remember what it was, but it was some case study. In the book, I remember the details and it's better spelled out. Point is, I clicked into this thing and I saw this 13-minute video of him just screen sharing. He's like, here's how I ran the retargeting campaign. He's like, here's the ads, here's the targeting, this is where I led them, here's the amount of leads I got, and here's the money I made. And I was like, oh my God, this is so much easier than a webinar. I was like, shit, I can do this. And so then I went up because I made a little bit of money from the email opt-ins that I had sold to try it again. And I just did a screen recording. I was like, hey, here's how we filled this gym in San Diego. We had 212 people who signed up in a month. I was like, here's the ads, here's the landing page, here's the scheduler, this is the script we used, here's how many we sold, and here's a picture of the gym owner like this. And if you want us to do that for you, let us know. And then the leads started pouring in. And so the big lesson that I had there is that my specific avatar, for whatever reason, or at least based on my skill set, I was able to get them to watch a case study around this specific thing rather than some really long webinar. And to be clear, it's not that webinars didn't work because the other guy obviously made them work. I didn't have the skill set yet. And so this, getting the right lead magnet for the right avatar, the right person that you're trying to sell to, was a huge lever. And I want to like pause here and emphasize this. If you're not getting enough leads, it's usually the lead magnet isn't good enough or attractive enough to your ideal audience. They're not engaging with it, right? We want to take leads and get them to engage. So think about this as like the picket line, and you have this really nice carrot on the other side of it. And the bigger and the juicier the carrot, the more people want to jump across to your side and give their information and say, I'm interested, all right? So this is how I figured out how important it was to get the right lead magnet, all right? So why lead magnets in general? So the offer is the products or services you exchange for money and the terms associated with the exchange. That's what an offer is. That's what your core thing is, the thing you sell, right? The thing that you make the most money from is your core offer. Now, you have lots of offers in your business all over the place. If you think about it, this content is an offer of some sort, right? Whatever I did to drive you to here was an offer. I was like, hey, I've got this thing. Like, if you read it from the book, you say, hey, there's a course and it's free, and I don't have to opt in for it. That was an offer, right? Is it the core offer for me? No, my core offer is that I buy into companies. Like, that's my core offer. That's where I make the most money, right? But it isn't an offer, all right? And so a lead magnet, and this is what I'll be really clear about, and people mess this up. A lead magnet is a complete solution to a narrow problem, given away at a significant discount or free to attract ideal customers. That's what a lead magnet is. And so this course, the books, the content, in some ways are all lead magnets. Because guess what's going to happen? We solved the first problem with the first book, which is, what do I sell? That was a complete solution to a narrowly defined problem. If you only know what to sell, that does not necessarily mean you're going to make more money. Now, if you have other skills, then it will enhance the amount of money you make. But naturally for me, with leads being the second thing, it's like, okay, well, once you have leads, what's the next problem you're going to actually come into? You don't know how to close. And I'll make more stuff around that later. But like, I'm trying to solve these one by one, and I wish I had unlimited time, and I'm documenting them as I spit them out for you guys. All right. But once you solve the narrow problem, and it should reveal the next problem solved only by your core offer. And so fundamentally for me, I have other free sale stuff. It's on the internet, it's there. I'll formalize it in books and trainings in the future. But the point is that hopefully with enough of my stuff, someone solves their true core problem for me, which is that they get to $1 million or $2 million or $5 million a year in profit. And they say, I don't know how to get past this, or I've never done this and I want someone to help me go from 5 to 20 or 20 to 100, whatever it is. And that's where we come in. That's the core offer that we have, is that I solve all the problems of somebody who's at $1 million, $5 million a year in profit, $10 million a year in profit, and they want to come to us to go to the next level. That's how this works. Hopefully this is kind of like meta defining of like both what I'm doing and what you can see at the same time for your business work. All right, and so we start with the Grand Slam offer, but if you can't get enough leads, you need a lead magnet. All right, and so think about it this way. The reason I like lead magnets is that you can just pitch your core thing. I could get up here and just say like, if I had no content, just think about it this way. Imagine I had no content, I had no books, I had no anything. I could just say, hey, if you're looking to scale your company, hit me up. And I might get a percentage of people who'd be willing to take me up on that. Maybe. I mean, if I did enough volume, I would be able to get people to do that. And so think about that as the left side. So these are made up numbers just to illustrate the concept. So let's consider my core offer as that little gift thing. All right, that's my core offer. So if I show this to a low trust list of people, so they don't know much about me, I haven't provided any value, I just say, hey, I do this thing, somebody who's in enough pain might actually just jump at that. It's possible. I mean, many businesses are built on that. And so out of 25 people, I might get one sale, or maybe 100 people, I might get one sale, depends on what I'm selling, right? But just for illustration purposes, and I probably did 25 just because I couldn't fit 100 little guys on the screen. But don't worry about the percentages, it's more the concept. Now, let's introduce the same idea, but with a lead magnet, all right? So I show those 25 people and I say, hey, I've got this free thing. It's gonna help you solve your problem, all right? This narrowly defined problem, and it's all valuable and it's free, it's yours. So what happens is a percentage of those people say, you know what? That is helpful for me. I do kind of suffer from that problem, and this is a low risk investment for me. All I'm really investing is time, and that is an investment. It's just, for many people, a lower investment than money. Less trust is required to give time than money for most people. So then a percentage of those people then consume the thing and say, man, this guy's pretty good at this thing. He helped me solve this narrow problem, but I have this other problem. And guess what? Now I say, hey, I know I fulfilled my first promise to you, is that I was gonna help you solve this problem. I can help you solve a much bigger problem in this way. And now we make our core offer. And now we make it to a high trust group of people, and we have a significantly higher take rate on it. And so we use the lead magnet, not because we're great people, but because we wanna make more money. And we do that by building more trust and providing value in advance. And so that is kind of the before and after. Now, again, if you're brand new to this, sometimes you can't just go make a core offer. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying this is how I do it. A simple visual for you is if you had a bar or a restaurant and you gave out salty nuts for free, I just want to say salty nuts, some people, a certain percentage of people would be like, man, I'm kind of thirsty. And then you have ice cold water sitting there and you sell the ice cold waters. So even if you give away salty nuts for free, you can make it up and some in the profit you make from the core offer or the upsell in the situation, all right? And so an interesting factoid about this is like the reason Costco has done food samples for such a long time, they stopped during COVID because of germs, whatever, but like they did it for a very long time and I think they're bringing it back, is that it drove sales. So they knew that giving away free food and paying people to sit there, giving away toothpicks of stuff, sold more product. And so they're not idiots. They're not just like, oh, well, if we give away all this free stuff, people are going to eat all this food and they're not going to want to buy, but they're not going to buy anything. Doesn't work that way. That's not how reciprocity works. It's not how, like, what happens when you try the, like, let's say you try all the things at Costco sampling, which many people do, all right? Well, you tried 20 things, but one of them you really liked. You're like, man, this bean dip, 7-layer bean dip's not that bad. And what do? You buy one. And what would you have not done if you hadn't done it? You wouldn't have bought it all together if they had offered none of those. So the cost of all those samples is the cost of delivering the lead magnet, but they make it up and some in you buying the thing, right? And so lead magnets get prospect to take one step closer to buying your stuff. And this is like if I can imprint this on you, a person who pays with their time now is more likely to pay with their money later. And so what we want is to get them to pay with their time early so that we can increase the likelihood they give us money later. That's the whole game. And when they pay with their time, we want to make sure we give them a high return on their time by making sure the thing that we gave them was incredibly valuable. Because if we gave them that bean dip and the bean dip was shit, they're not going to buy more bean dip. And they might also tell a bunch of people that our bean dip sucks, right? So we want to have good bean dip, the 7-layer kind, the exceptional kind, all right? So that's why I use lead magnets in general. So let's go into the what and the who, all right? So with $100 million leads example, my book in this video series are lead magnets. You are a lead. I want to solve your engaged leads problem. I want to solve it for people making less than $1 million a year in annual profit. With enough ideas, you make more than $1 million a year and discover new scaling problems that I can help you solve by investing in your business, right? That is the problem solution cycle. And so it looks like this. Visually, all problems, when solved, create a new problem, all right? So, for example, if I solve the leads problem, the next problem you'll have is sales. Once you have the sales problem, then you'll have the delivery problem, the churn problem. Once you have the churn problem, you might have the scaling operations problem. Once you have the scaling operations problem, you might be like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do. We have to go back to the beginning and increase traffic. Like every problem that gets solved creates a new problem. And that's the never-ending cycle of business and really life, right? As soon as you can't find a girlfriend, and then you find a girlfriend, then you got girlfriend problems, right? Then you're like, man, I'm not married. Then you solve your girlfriend problem with a wife problem, and then you got wife problems, right? But like each time you solve a problem, you still just open up a new door. But the thing is, ideally, we just want to trade bad problems for better problems. But problems don't go away. And so let's imagine that we're selling homeowners, all right? So we're trying to help them sell their homes. And that's a very broad solution. That's a big thing, right? So what we want to do is break that into micro steps and micro problems that we have to solve towards that one big one, right? So what are all the steps before you sell a home, right? Well, the owners are going to want to know what their house is worth. They're going to know how to increase its value. They're going to need pictures, cleaning, landscaping, staging, et cetera, right? And these are all very narrow problems, which are great for lead magnets. And so we pick one of those narrow problems and we solve it for free. And although it helps, it makes their other problem more obvious. They still have to sell their house. But we show them what their house is worth. We showed them how to increase their value. Maybe we did one of these things to increase their value. And we made that promise and we delivered on that promise. And now they're like, well, I trust you. I don't trust these guys because you helped me out with this other thing when I needed you. We have our foot in the door, and now we turn a lead into a customer, all right? And so the action step for right now is that you pick the who and the what. So who are you going to solve the very valuable, narrow problem for? That's what we're picking right now. So pick that right now. Now, let's get into how to solve it. So there's 3 types of lead magnets. So I looked at all of our businesses, all of our portfolio companies, my past companies, the different offers we did. So I did like a big meta review. I was like, okay, what are all the different types of lead magnets? And they basically fall into these 3 buckets. So type number 1 is a type of lead magnet that reveals a problem. All right, so any kind of assessment. So if I did if I had SEO services or site optimization services, my revealing the problem would be like, I'll give you a free audit of the site, and I'll show you what your page load time is and what it could potentially be, right? That's revealing a problem. I'm not solving anything, but I'm making them aware of a problem they didn't know existed. That's type 1. Type 2 is that I give a free trial of a thing. So it's you try this thing, and if you want more of the same thing that you tried, you have to pay. Very simple. The third version is where you give away one step of a multi-step process for free, and the rest are charged for. All right, so I'm gonna give you examples of each of these. With revealing the problem, think diagnosis. All right, so this works great for problems that get worse while you wait. So speed test on a website is what I said. Posture analysis, like someone's posture gets worse over time if they don't know that they have a posture issue, right? If you can do termite inspections, the longer you wait with the termite inspection, the more expensive the problem gets to fix. And so ideally, if you have problems that you do with your business that become more expensive as they take time, you already have implied urgency the moment that you reveal the problem. And so it makes them likely to want to take the next step. Now they're aware of the snake that's under their table, right? So that is type 1. So if you're thinking about this, okay, I have my who and what, well, how do I want to solve it? So 1 is you can reveal the problem. The second is think of this as like a taste. So when you're doing a free trial, it's a taste, just like Costco, right? You can limit the number of uses, right? Like they limit the quantity. They're not going to give you the whole dip thing. They give you a little toothpick full. You can limit the number of uses, the quantity of the use, the time they have access to it, or both, right? So if you have like a software, for example, then they might be able to use it, and they can limit the number of uses if it's a use case thing, or how much if they get. You have to just limit some component of it, all right? And so using the same 3 business examples as earlier, and this is a big point I want to make, is any of these 3 work with any business. So I had the speed thing earlier, and I gave you an example of what the diagnosis would look like, which is I will audit their site and show them how fast it is. If I want to give a free trial version, I would hook them up to my faster server and decrease their website load times, make it faster, show them how many more leads they're getting because it's faster, and now what do they want? Well, I want to keep that. Well, great. Now you have to pay, right? With the adjustment, the posture analysis, well, the trial version of that is I just give them the adjustment. I immediately fix their posture, and I can show them that. Now, what are they going to do? It's like, well, I did one and I fixed you temporarily, but we have to do this over and over again until eventually it fixes for good, right? That's the idea. In food or cosmetics, any kind of consumables, that's where fund-sized packaging comes into play, right? And so those are the free trial versions. Now, the reason I'm underlining this is that all three of those are the same business I showed you earlier. It's just a different way to solve the problem. And this is the point of this is to get your ideas, your juices moving. So you can think, how can I use this in my business? Not this won't work in my business. Just think, how will this work? And how can I make this work for me? So the third version of this is the multi-step process. You give one piece away of a multi-step. So think one of many steps, right? Unsurprisingly. So this book, for example, helps you get to $1 million in profit. Now there's other steps that are required after that, and that's what we invest in companies for, right? Free garage door wood sealant. Let's say there's one of 3 coats, right? Now in the website example, I might say that there's 10 things we can do to improve your website speed. I will do the first one. There's 9 other things that we can do. Would you like to know how the rest of these can improve your site, right? With the posture analysis, we might say, okay, well, there's back cracking, there's also electroshocking, there's also massage, there's also stretching, right? And we actually like to have a combined attack, a multidisciplinary approach to our treatment of patients, whatever, you get the idea. And so I say, I'm gonna give away the cracking, but not the massaging, the electroshocking, and the massage, right? And so I have these other things, and so they're like, well, I want those too, because that thing worked, right? And that's the idea. We gave away one piece of a multi-step process, right? And this is also where like free course, calculator templates, et cetera, that are the first step. So you see like wealth advisors giving away templates for how much wealth can grow. It's like, well, great. That's kind of a combination of one step of multi-step and diagnosis. And I put that last one in there for this reason, is that like the buckets matter less than you thinking creatively about how to create your lead magnet to solve the problem. There are no rules. These are just the 3 buckets that I have seen most neatly fit all of the solutions that we've given away across all our portfolio companies that have gotten more people to want to buy our stuff. And so those are the 3 lead magnet types. And the idea here is that you want to be a legal drug dealer, all right? And so think about what a drug dealer does. Like the first hit's always on the house, right? The first hit's free. And so you want to give away the first hit. And the reason drug dealing is such a great business is because the product's exceptional. People immediately get a result, right? And it's guaranteed virtually, as long as the stuff's not bad, right? And what do they want? It also creates addictive behavior. And so they want to come back. Like ideally, that's what the perfect product does, right? Now, I'm not saying you should sell drugs, but I'm saying you should behave and learn lessons from them so that we can make money like one. And so the action step is pick how you want to solve the narrow problem. So you want to reveal it, you want to sample it, or you give one step of many. Those are the 3. Now we have to pick how do we want to deliver it. So we picked how we're going to solve it, but there's lots of ways to deliver that solution. Even a diagnosis, there's a million ways you can actually deliver the diagnosis, right? So there's 4 delivery mechanisms. Again, this is just from what we've seen across our portfolio companies and that I've used successfully. One is that you can use software. Second is use information like this. Third is that you can use services. And fourth is you can use physical products, all right? And so each of these work with the 3 how to solves from the last point. So if you think about this like a matrix, and so you got 3 of those times 4 of those. You got 12 different possible, I think 3 times 4, I think that's what it is, 12 different combinations that you can put together, all right? So software, fundamentally, you give them a tool. That's what this is, all right? So if you have a spreadsheet, a calculator, a small software, your technology does a job for them. All right, so an example is you give a spreadsheet, a dashboard for gym owners that gives them all the relevant stats and compares them to industry averages. Now, why would that be a useful tool for us to give away? Because we say, hey, here's you, here's our average gyms. The delta is the value that we can unlock. Would you like to learn more? Right? And we can give it away for free. That's a software example. That's how I can deliver that diagnosis. There's lots of ways to do it, but if I did it with software, that's how I would do it. With information, you teach them something, all right? So courses, lessons, interviews with expert, keynote presentations, live events, mistakes and pitfalls, hacks, tips, etc. Anything they can learn from is information, all right? So example for us, I'm using the gyms for this to give you a nuanced example, is that I give a mini course away to gyms on how to write ads. It's a free thing. I give it away. How to write ads. Now, what happens when you know how to write ads? You got to know how to place ads. And after that, where do I send them? You got to send them a landing page. If you don't know how to build a landing page, right? We can still absolutely, totally over-deliver in value and completely fulfill our promises and be like, this is the best thing I've ever seen on how to write ads for gyms. But I didn't promise I was going to build, 10x their gym. I just thought I can help you with this. But you still gain the trust and they take the next step. And to be clear, it's not that everybody's going to take the next step. It's just a percentage of people will. And in my opinion, more than would otherwise have taken a step if you only went straight for the offer. The third thing, and this is actually one of my favorite things to give away, and I don't talk about it as much because it's like almost like secret and dirty because how good it is. But you do work for free. If you have this little pang in your stomach, like, give work away for free, undervalue myself, right? I'm a special snowflake. I think you get so much goodwill giving away something that people know costs you something. And that is something that is unscalable and provides so much goodwill that you get so much persuasive power as a result of giving that give that you get a disproportionate amount of people to want to work with you. Also, when you do service, you actually have a lot of interface with people. And so your ability to sell them or soft sell them during that experience goes way up. All right, and so you do work for free. You adjust their back. You perform a website audit. You apply the first layer of garage sealant. You transform their video into an ebook. Whatever the service is, you do it for free. And so the example I'll give you is I ran gym owners ads for free for 30 days. I'll run the ads for free. I'll get you leads for free to show you I know what I'm doing. Now, what happens after you get leads for free? You make some money. What happens when you make some money? You want to keep making money. In exchange for continuing to make money, I would like to make some of it as well. Simple offer, all right? Number 4, physical products. You give them something that they can hold in their hands, all right? So a posture assessment chart, if I was doing the diagnosis thing. A supplement, a bottle of garage door sealant. Rather than doing it, I give them the sealant. Boxing gloves to get boxing leads into the gym. So I sell a physical book called Gym Launch Secrets, something they can hold in their hands. If I sold t-shirts that said gym owner on it, that would also be something that a gym owner might say, hey, I'm interested in it. But here's my caveat. The closer, you want the lead magnet to be close to the thing that you sell, as close as possible, all right? So let me give you an example. So if I sold IT services and I gave away free t-shirts that branded their company's name on it, people would want that. But people would want that, would not necessarily want IT services. It doesn't naturally lead to the next my core offer, right? And so if I gave away the logo for the t-shirts, that might be a great lead magnet for an apparel white labeler because they might want more apparel. So then that leads naturally so it's not that a lead magnet is good or bad, it's which one is right for your core offer or your business. What might be an amazing lead magnet for one business might be a terrible lead magnet for another business. And that's why I started with the problem solution cycle earlier, is that you want to make sure that the thing you're giving away leads naturally to the problem that you can solve next, all right? So those are the 4 delivery mechanisms. You give away software, you give away information, you give away services, you give away physical products. All right, and each of these work with the 3 how to solves from the point before. And so here's the action step. You pick how you want to deliver the solution. That's the goal. You pick one of those 4. Now we've got everything we have. We know the who and the what that we're going to do. We know how we're going to solve, how we're going to deliver it. Well, guess what? We still got to name it. And as silly as this sounds, I'll tell you an interesting fun story that just happened this week. So one of our editors were looking at a short video that they were like, man, I really thought this was a good video. And it totally tanked. It got like 4,000 views, which for us was a tank. And so they looked at it, they made some notes, and all they did was they chopped the first 5 seconds of the video and basically just redid the first 5 seconds of the video. And that one change took it from 4,000 views to 850,000 views with that one change. And so that's a 200x increase in viewership from one change, which is how people framed the value that they were about to consume. Like the core value of the video was the same, but how people perceived the first 5 seconds was the thing that changed, the frame that they consumed the information in. And so we may have this value, but how we frame or position our lead magnet matters a lot, arguably from a lead generating perspective more than everything else. Now, from a perspective of lead conversion, of getting those leads to want to buy the thing that you have to sell, how good it is going to matter more. But how you name it will determine how well it performs as an actual lead magnet for getting you leads, all right? I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this. So let me show you what this actually looked in the real world, because I test everything. So for the $100 million leads book, I tested the names. Which book title would you more likely want to grab? So $100 million advertising, $100 million promotion. Well, advertising won the first test. I was like, okay, well, which book title most interests you? So I said, advertising and leads. Leads won that test. I was like, huh, okay, so it's like a winner's bracket. So then I took leads and did it against marketing, and leads won again. And I could give you a million reasons of why I think that is. It honestly doesn't really matter. All I know is that it outperformed. And so this is a quote that I love from David Ogilvy. He said, after you've written your headline, you spent 80 cents of your advertising dollar. So think about that. If the first 5 seconds is what 85% of people, or making that split decision when they see the headline of your ad or the name of your lead magnet immediately sorts 80, 90% of the traffic that you have, then isn't it crazy that we don't spend more time testing that one piece? The pros who are watching this right now are nodding their heads because they get it. This is important, especially when it comes to getting them to engage. Getting them to convert is how good it is. Getting them to engage is how you name it. So this wasn't even the final version because you can know that it's blue now. But this was my test because I hadn't figured out what color I was going to do it yet. And so that's how you can know it's legit. The real versus cartoon, real won, okay? And so then I was like, okay, so I'm going to use a real magnet because I wanted to do magnet as the image. So I felt confident about that, so I wanted the magnet. And so now I had the headline, I had the image, and now I wanted the subheadline. So I said, how to get more people to want to buy your stuff versus how to get strangers to want to buy your stuff. So how to get strangers to want to buy your stuff won. So round 2, I said, how to get more strangers to want to buy your stuff versus how to get strangers to want to buy your stuff. Look at the difference, just with one word, 70% versus 30. Like these details matter. Think about getting 3 times, like if we're just doing it it's 2.5 times as many people would click this thing, 2.5 times simply by removing a word, right? And so that's why this stuff's so important. Round 3, I did how to get as many leads as you darn well please versus how to get strangers to want to buy your stuff again, which is the control at this point. It won again. And then the last test was get strangers to want to buy your stuff. So I was like, maybe it's shorter because round 2 it crushed because it was shorter. So maybe just taking words out, that was my theory. That disproved the theory. It wasn't that. Because how to get strangers to want to buy your stuff versus get strangers to want to buy your stuff still outperformed 70-30. Really cool, right? And so let me show you how you do this. All right, so I just show you how I did it. So this is how you can do it depending on your audience size. You can run ads, straight up, you can just run ads, asking people. And the nice thing is it doesn't cost much money to run an ad. To get a large enough sample size, you probably spend $50 and you can get the sample size you need to run an ad on this. Number 2 is you can just run a poll. Like that was a poll to my audience. I have a big enough audience that I can run that poll and immediately get feedback. And you can do it also on every platform. So if you're like, okay, well my Instagram's not big enough, it's like, that's fine. Just run it on your Instagram, your Twitter, your the Facebook, like run it on all the platforms you're on, and then you can add them all up on your own side. If you still don't have that, you can also make a post and ask people to comment just 1 or 2, right? That'll get you more engagement. You can do it again across platforms. And if you still don't have enough, then just DM people who follow you, who are friends with you, or even in your phone, and say, hey, what do you think, A or B? And most people, if you're asking in earnest, will give you a response. And you'll be able to get enough of a directional cue that you can make a decision on it, all right? And so here's the action step for right now, is that you want to test what to name it. And bonus points is that if when you ask them which one they like better, is that they ask for the thing that you're asking them about. And so if you say, hey, which of these 2 do you like better? And they say, I like B, when is this coming out? That's when you know you have a winner. So we're cruising, home stretch. Now we got to make it easy, all right? So it's like, okay, we got the what and the who, we know how to solve it, we know how to deliver it, we know how to name it. So people are now jumping into our boat. Okay, well then how are we going to get them to convert, right? So we want to make it fast and easy for them to consume this, all right? And so here's what's interesting about this, is that, oh, this isn't interesting, but people do things that are easy for them. You're like, wow, Alex, blew me away with value, all right? So what we want to do is we want to give them options. And so here's a fun factoid for you. We have an almost perfect split between ebook, audio, video, and physical copies of the book in terms of consumption. Almost perfect. Isn't that wild? So if I only did a physical copy of the book and that was my lead magnet, I would miss out on 3/4 of the traffic of people who would consume my thing. Or, arguably just as bad, is that maybe I would get half the people, but they wouldn't be consuming it in the way they want. So they would maybe opt in for it, but not consume it, which then I get leads, but I don't get conversions. This is why it's so key to understand both sides of it. And so we want to make it fast and easy for them to consume the value, and we do it at their convenience. And so depending on the delivery mechanism, we will do it differently. So if it's information, obviously you do it in this way. You want to make it consumable in different ways. And so if we're using software, we want to make it accessible on their phone, on their computer, in multiple formats for different devices, Android and Apple, right? So that's why we have it. The ebook is on Kindle, and it's also on Audible. And on Audible, I have it on Audible, and I also have it on my podcast, right? So I have it in different places so that people can consume it in different ways that they prefer, all right? It's ironic, but some people like only listen to podcasts and don't listen to Audible, and some people only listen to Audible and don't listen to podcasts. So whatever one you use, go there. Information, all consumption preferences, you want to make available. If you do service, and this is a key one, available in more times, in more ways, for more days. So if you say, hey, I'll fix your back for you, but I'm only available at 7 a.m. on Mondays to do this free thing, some people just aren't going to do that. And so you might be like, I'm giving them this back posture assessment for free. It's like, it doesn't matter, man. Like they don't know you from anybody. And guess what? There's a guy down the street who will do it anytime it's convenient for them. And guess who gets the lead? That guy. All right, so be that guy. Make it convenient for them. Make it easy. All right, and then physical products. So this is where you want to make it simple to open and simple to use, all right? So that you don't want to have a directions thing. They should immediately know how to do it. Part of that comes into design. So like, as an example, Apple boxes are so easy and so elegantly designed that people keep them. Think how weird that is. Like, there's basically no other products that you buy and you keep the boxes, but people keep Apple boxes. Like, no one instructs you to keep the box for Apple, but people keep the boxes. Why? Because they're so elegant, they're so simple to use, right? And so that's what we want to think about when we're making our lead magnets. All right, so we made it easy. And finally, they got to eat it, and they got to like it. So we got to make it good. All right, and so here's the thing. Zero fluff, and hopefully as you're getting pummeled with the stuff that I'm doing here, like this is the shit you actually have to do. So I have action steps after every one of these things, so you can actually do this and make money in your business. All right, so zero fluff. Give away the secrets, sell the implementation. I give away all the stuff, and if somebody wants us to build their whole team out and help and scale the shit out of like all that stuff, like we will help do that, right? But the information, it's yours. Enjoy it, right? Have more than one valuable thing. Be better. All right, so this is a key point. People are like, well, what happens if I give away my valuable thing? Learn something else that's valuable. Like fundamentally, the more value you provide to the marketplace, the more money you're gonna make. And so if you only have one thing that's valuable, then learn another thing and give that thing away for free and then sell the other thing, right? Like fundamentally, you just need to restate that as a skill deficiency and then fix it, all right? The market judges you, and this is a key point. Market judges you on your free stuff, not your paid stuff. So here's why this is fascinating, at least for me. Remember that Ogilvy thing with the 80% of your dollars spent with the headline? It's the same idea here, is that 99.9% of the audience, of the people who see your stuff, are never gonna buy from you. And that's okay, all right? But they will have an opinion about you. And their opinion will impact the people who will ultimately or not buy as a result of it, which is why you need to make the free thing so fucking good that they're like, man, I mean, I've never bought anything from him, but everything I've gotten is awesome. And so your reputation continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and so much so that you can overpower any naysayers that come up in the community because you over-deliver by such a high degree, all right? And so and I like playing the alternative card. Well, let's say that you're like, you know what, Alex? I give away such good stuff, I'm gonna give away stuff, and you know, I know, we both know that it's fluff. All right, let's just be real. We both know it's fluff, but you think it's not, but it's fluff, all right? So you give away sucky fluff, all right, what happens? You actually discourage people who otherwise would have bought not to. And that's first order. The second order is that, and how many times have you gotten a text from someone? I mean, I get them all the time, like, hey, what do you think about so-and-so? Or hey, like, is this guy legit or blah, blah, blah? Well, if I consume sucky fluff and someone texts me, then I'm like, oh no, I consumed his free thing, it blew, wasn't valuable. Now you might be thinking, well, I don't want to give away my valuable thing. It's like, well, the alternative is that everyone thinks you suck. So of course you should give away the valuable thing, and then you should also have a very valuable paid thing. All of it has to be valuable. And that's why business is hard, because you have to provide value all the way through. Now, people judge the value they'll get from your paid thing based on the value of the free thing. And so here's what's interesting. People make purchasing decisions based on a prediction of future value. Meaning, I take out my wallet and I spend money because I think the thing is gonna provide, I don't know yet because I can't have known it until I try it, right? And so it's all based on a prediction. It's all based on probability, the likelihood that it's gonna deliver what they want. So what is the easiest way to get someone to predict that they're gonna get value from you later? Is to give them value before. So the best way to get someone to think they're gonna get value after they buy from you is to give them value before they buy from you. It sounds crazy, but that's how it works. And it took me way too long to learn this. So make your free stuff exceptional and make your paid stuff exceptional. So finally, you have this person. So we know who we're doing it, we know what we're solving, we know how to solve it, how to deliver it, how to name it, how to make it easy, how to make it good. Well, how do we make money? You have to create next steps. So crazy, but people forget the last fucking step of this. So don't be like that, all right? So CTA, all right, this is the call to action. So what to do? Clear, simple, direct language. All right, do not be clever, be clear. If you're a company doing $1 to $10 million in profit, apply to acquisition.com. There's my CTA. So if that's you, go do that, all right? Now, here's the reasons to do it now. We stopped taking companies for 5 months last year because we had so many. We recently opened back up. So do it before we turn off our valves again because we have to put all the effort that we do into growing the companies we have, all right? And so that is a call to action. If you're that person and you have that, go apply. The reason to do it is that we stop for 5 months, and if you want it now, then do it now because we might not do it for a while again. All right? And so ideally, you want to weave in scarcity, which is limited quantity, urgency, which is time, as in I could have an unlimited amount of ebooks, but if I say I'm no longer offering this ebook after tomorrow, I have urgency, not scarcity. If I say I only made 10 of these hats, that's it. They're available forever, but the first 10 get them. There's no urgency, but there is scarcity. And ideally, you want to have both. But you can do either of those and still generate significantly more demand than you would otherwise by simply limiting some element of the offer that you're making or the call to action you have. And that's one of the strongest reasons to do it now. And so if you're like, well, I don't have a good reason, I like using this little frame that I call the fraternity party planner, which is you can have any reason to come up with something, all right? So like a fraternity party planner, they're like, Timmy got his wisdom teeth out, kegger, right? And so it doesn't matter what the reason is. It's more important that you have a reason because any reason is more compelling than no reason at all. Boom! So now you know how to engage your leads by creating a lead magnet. Great leads want great lead magnets. If you want great leads, the great leads want great lead magnets. They want exceptional things. How am I going to get a business owner who's doing $10 million in profit a year to think this guy can add value to my business? I have to provide exceptional value in the three things that I provide. Otherwise, I'm not going to get that type of person. I'm going to get lots of people who don't know any different, who don't know any better, and just going 0 to 1. But that's not who I'm looking for. And so if you want to increase the quality of your prospects, increase the quality of your lead magnets. All right, and so a great lead magnet, 1, engages ideal customers when they see it. They see it and they think, I want that. 2, it gets more people to engage than your core offer alone. So that's how you know this actually money-wise makes sense. Like, why don't I just offer the core offer to everybody? Well, if you offer the lead magnet first, more people ultimately buy. That means that for the same effort, you lower your cost to acquire a customer. That's the point of this. That's why we do this. All right? It's not because we just like working more. It's because we want to make more money. 3 is that it's valuable enough that people consume it. So not only do they engage with it, they're like, oh, I'm actually going to consume this thing and get value from it. And then 4, it makes the right people more likely to buy. And I want to really underline this. You don't want to make everybody more likely to buy. You want the right people to be more likely to buy. So if you find out somebody who's not qualified doesn't like your lead magnet or doesn't find value from it, that's okay because they're not the ideal audience. And so part of that comes to targeting, and that's a discussion for later in the book. But for now, the idea is to kick out the bad as much as you attract the good. And so the end result is that more people show interest in our stuff, we make more money, we improve our brand all at the same time. And now finally, that we have these things, we know what a lead is, we know how to solve it, we know how to engage them to get engaged leads, which is the true output of advertising. Now we'll talk about advertising.